Happy Sunday, February the 1st, Inside Scoopers. I'm Rodney Habib. Joining me as always, the one, the only, #1 New York Times best-selling author, incredible veterinarian, gardener, lizard mom, the one, the only, Dr. Karen Becker.
Hey, thanks, Rodney, and welcome Inside Scoopers. We're so glad that you are joining us live. If you are here right now, you're joining us live, and we appreciate you being here. Hoping everyone's having a fantastic Sunday. Rodney Abib, how are you, and how is Canada?
Canada
Cold,
is good.
I'm presuming.
We're going to be getting blasted with a huge nor'easter, as they call it, that's coming by, and it should hit us in approximately 4 hours. The one, the only, the incredible Doctor in awesomeness, Susan Thixton, texting us yesterday. She saw flurries.
Yes, she did.
Do we know what happened there? Hopefully Susan's still.
So, the one and only Susan Thixton, Truth About Pet Food, she lives in Florida, and she texted us yesterday and said, there is a falling iguana warning for all of our Florida friends that it's going to get cold and blustery in Florida. That's kind of scary. Prayers for all the lizards.
Prayers for all the lizards. Listen, look at how incredible what's going on here today. Inside Scoopers.
Lots of days.
Happy National Serpent Day. If you have serpents, Karen.
Oh, yay!
I know.
I'm wearing green in honor of
your
Amazon basin emerald tree boas.
Also
one of the most beautiful
also the
snakes.
Kiwis, right? The folks down Australia, New Zealand.
I love kiwis. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love to eat them, and I love them as
Australian
humans.
today, which is awesome.
Yep.
The best type of people. It is also Holiday Hugs Day. So Inside Scoopers,
Holiday
get out.
hug?
Hug your family members, hug your pets, hug your dogs, hug your cats. Just
Some animals don't want to be hugged, and we should respect boundaries as well.
All right, just maybe high five, maybe mind hug. Right?
Yeah,
it's
there you
also
go.
National Dark Chocolate Day, Karen, today in your country.
Thumbs up for that, my lady friends. Go celebrate that today.
I'm a milk chocolate guy through and through. Also, Inside Scoopers that are watching, it is Dump Your Significant Jerk Day.
I already did that. I got that. I cleaned that up a decade ago.
So if you're on the fence, Inside Scoopers, and you're just wondering, God, I want to dump that person so bad. I don't know when the right time is. Hey, what better time?
Today's the day.
Than dump your significant
Today's
jerk
the day.
Yeah, and you'll always remember the day too that you waited on this day to do it. It is also Change Your Password Day. Ooh. You and my father, as I said earlier, drive me crazy. Maybe you're not as bad as my dad. My dad's absolutely the worst.
No, I'm as bad.
My dad changes,
I'm as bad. I still have the password from like 1986.
Dad, if you're watching, you're the worst password changer remember in the whole world, because he'll change it and then he'll write in his little notepad. He never updates in his notepad, and you'll look at it and be like, password from 1987. He's changed it like 10,000 times. It absolutely kills me.
George, I feel you.
Absolutely kills
I feel you, George.
And today, finally, Spunky Old Broads Day.
Yeah. Yes. That's my day.
Sheila says, I love Spunky Old Broad Day. Listen, like you and I, we're
how old do you have to be a spunky old broad? Because I'm pretty sure I qualify.
It's crazy. It's so young. It says 50. It said just to tell people that when you're over 50, it's not over. It's like, what are you talking about? 50 is so damn young. Like, what are we talking about here? That 50 would be considered a spunky old broad. But Teresa says, woohoo, old broads.
Yes.
If you Inside Scoopers, look at our faces right now, because I kind of feel like you and I are both two spunky old broads, right? We've been talking about when we started this podcast. Look at us here. Look at us. 7 years ago, when we were trying to figure out what the Inside Scoop would look like. Here we are in my little office. I didn't at that time, couldn't afford podcast mics. So look, I'm using my camera mic on a boom. I have podcasts.
Look, back when we had collagen.
Right?
We look so young.
I got podcast number 3 on here. This is actually podcast number 1. Inside Scoopers, if you are watching this, this is 2019. We were already 71 episodes into the Inside Scoop. I know we started in 2018, but this was on October the 11th of 2019, 7 years ago. We were 1 year into doing this, and we were like, we don't know if people like this. Well, what are we doing? So we started our first live podcast. There we are. And look at us now.
I know Teresa says you were so young. I had the good old days, Teresa. Now we're old broads.
Right?
I kind of view aging as it's a gift. A lot of people are not able to age because they have trauma or disease, and age is a blessing. So I am A-okay being an old broad, and you're an old broad too,
I am.
Rodney.
So happy National Old Broads Day. So yeah, we can celebrate that. We can start celebrating that soon. Inside Scoopers. By the way, let's get back to all the incredible new Inside Scooper members. If you've just joined the Inside Scoop, you want to make sure you go to the subscriber hub. From there, click on the visit subscriber group. And then from there, you're in the Inside Scoop where all the cool things are happening. We have our incredible guides section that's there. The guides section will show you all of the previous podcasts, all organized. Thank you to our incredible admins who've put that together for us. Also, I'm listening to I'm listening to
dozens.
The music in my ear.
Yes.
This is not our music. I don't know what's going on.
Whose music is it?
Listen, what the hell's going on with the music? I'm listening to it in my ear. It's just not playing like our regular music.
Maybe you just updated an inadvertent theme song. I think Inside Scoopers, take a vote. If you like the new music, if you hate the new music,
actually,
we will change the music.
I know, right?
Depending on.
Believe it or not, what the heck is, okay. Anyways, long story short, Inside Scoopers, as I was rudely interrupted, if the music was right, but let's just stay on it. From there, you go to our guides, our go-to section. Click on the More tab. In the More tab, you'll find the Files section where you can download PDFs, workbooks, and guides that we have every single week. And then obviously the fastest way to get into the episodes would be either the Live tab or the playlist on the Planet Pause page that'll give you access. And if you're tuning in from the wonderful website where everything seems to be all organized, where all 300 plus episodes are all housed there, then you know how to navigate through there by now. You guys are smart cookies. I'm sure you guys are doing an incredible job. So we've got an incredible show today, Karen. However, I do want to say, before we get started, I do want to congratulate you on something. I kind of put a couple things together for you. I got an email this week that gave me some incredible news pertaining to Proactive Pause, which is so exciting. Inside Scoopers, if you are new and just checking this out, the one, the only Dr. Karen Becker put together an incredible line of products that she could not find, that put together herself. You came out with your first product, Primitive Probiotic, the first of its kind, precision formulated, science-backed probiotic, and it's sold out everywhere. Like, this has been absolutely everywhere in my news feeds, so on and so forth. The reviews, Karen, are just unbelievable.
You know, Rodney, the reviews make me cry because I started this line because I needed to fill in the holes that I couldn't find the products that I needed for. And I knew digestive enzymes is what everyone was asking for, but Homer needed a probiotic. And so I made this product first because Homie needed one. And Primitive Probiotics, the emails you all have sent me literally make me cry because it's giving dogs a second chance at what owners felt were hopeless GI cases. And the testimonies have been incredibly inspiring to me that people are able to finally help their dogs get some relief. So this product has been a blessing. And I'm grateful for that. That's why I made
Crystal
it.
Dunn says, I finally got it, Lily, I finally got Lily to take your probiotic this week. Eileen says, I just started it. Can't wait for the rest. She's really excited about the digestive enzyme. Hold on,
yes,
Eileen, before you might tune out.
Yeah.
It is absolutely unbelievable the amount of people that I've been seeing online. Also, what's really big is you hear all of the people that are reordering based upon the efficacy of it. I mean, these are just a couple screen captures of some of the comments. Christina, right under you, said we've been using it for our yeasty bulldog. It's absolutely excellent.
Yeah.
Comment after comment. Bonnie says, "Hello, Dr. Becker. This product is absolutely amazing. I see a difference in my 8-year-old Roddy." Like
Aw.
it's just endless. Kathy says, "My dog is doing so well on this product with allergies and skin issues. Thank you so much, Dr. Becker." I know you can't read this because it's probably so damn hard to read because it's so strong. Carla says, "My dog has struggled for years. I've tried so many different pre and probiotics. Some help for a while. He's been on this new one for a month, and we can't believe how much better he's doing."
I know. Thank you,
It
God.
is.
Yeah.
Listen, you've done such
Yeah.
a magical job. So congratulations on selling
Thank
out
you.
of it
Thank you.
and
Thanks.
doing so absolutely so fantastic. Can I say how excited I am? So one of the big questions was why. Now I know why it's first of its kind. Obviously, it has dog-specific species in it. It has soil-based probiotics in it. There's no prebiotic in it, and that's a big one. I want you to talk about that. Why it's so important? I've seen dogs with especially bad bacteria in there ruling the roost, aka SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and then they try a probiotic trying to help it, and it just spirals.
Gas on fire. Yes, it is. And that's true, Rodney. In fact, it's a timely conversation for today's teaching section, which is bloat GDV, because GDV prone, bloat prone animals are also another category of dogs. Guys, we talk just endlessly here about, in fact, Will Bolshewitz also said it. Feed prebiotic foods, do not give prebiotic supplements. And for that reason alone, I do not have prebiotic supplements in my probiotic, because if you need them, you can take them separate. But to automatically assume that every animal on a probiotic should get a prebiotic supplement meaning FOS, fructooligosaccharides, chicory root or inulin, absolutely not. And today's teaching segment of bloat is going to really highlight that, Rodney, because bloat prone animals should not be on any prebiotic supplements. And we're going to talk about the physiology of why when we talk about that study. But I really wanted to create a probiotic that was not based off of, I've been formulating for other companies for 20 years. Using human strain probiotics because that's what was available. When I was able to find wolf strains and canine specific strains and then the soil strains I wanted, that is when I'm like, okay, we finally have the technology. We have purified strains that are replicatable. We've studied them in lab trials to be able to prove efficacy. We know that they're stable. Now's the time to create the probiotic of my dreams. And that's what I did. So thank you guys for supporting me and supporting this project. It is self-funded. I am so grateful. Honestly, sometimes you have nightmares when you are a small independent business owner about paying bills next year or products expiring in the warehouse. Thank you, God, that this product is sold out. And it did. I mean, it's helping the category of dogs that I created it for. It is helpful and it is doing its job. So I appreciate the support from my community on this one. So thanks.
Because I'm a giant science junkie. I know that we went over before Inside Scoopers. If you haven't seen it, it's on the Proactive Pause page, the live that we did where we talked about all the specific strains. Can I tell you the one that there's many that I'm in love with.
There are science. Every single one of those strains is science backed.
There's many that I'm in love with. The OptiBiome BS50, Bacillus subtilis. Listen, I'm in love with Bacillus. If I get a cat, 2 cats. One's Bacillus, the other one's going to be Subtilis.
I like that very much.
Yeah. The Bacillus subtilis strain that you have in there does so many magical things. But I was reading an article from BioCat's launch on it when they came out with it. And a randomized double-blinded placebo-controlled trial. Karen, this strain, according to the scientists, they freaked out because it aided in protein digestion. They were like, this particular strain produces protease. It almost acts like a digestive enzyme. It's almost acting like your pancreas in terms of digestion. Why is this so important? When we talk about a very important study, which is going to be the Waltham study today, maybe the most groundbreaking microbiome advancement study that we've seen to date, just came out, published in Nature. We'll talk about that in a second. But it is so critical. Maybe I'll come back to this slide, and this slide will make more sense when I'm going to hold on to it and come back and make more sense, because what they're seeing and what you're going to see in that study is how many dogs and the issues that animals are currently having, not only with protein digestion, but for the production of amino acids, vitamins,
short chain fatty
short
acids.
chain fatty
Yes.
acids,
B
B
vitamins.
right? All
Yeah.
the microbiome reports that I've been seeing where animals have just lost the ability almost, well, in terms of their microbiome testing, they've lost the ability to be able to produce those short chain fatty acids. You've got like so many different types of species. Those people that have done a microbiome test, you know what I'm talking about. They get a 0 score. The dog lacks the short chain fatty acid production, can't seal the gut lining. Here comes primitive probiotics to the rescue. That really helps out. The comment section is broken, by the way, because Angela went into the Proactive Pause page and saw the surprise, and she's like, I'm literally squealing what I just saw.
Oh, yes.
Should I cut to your surprise?
Yes. This is for Eileen and everyone else who has waited 7 months for this. I'm so excited. I'm so excited, Inside Scoopers.
Yay!
February 16th.
Your second product. Your second new product.
Yay, Prime Enzymes in the house in less than 2 weeks, my beautiful family. I am so excited about this. Was the product that you all begged me to start with. And honestly, Homer just needed probiotics. So I started with selfishly, I started by saving my own dog first. Put on your own mask before helping those around you. And so I did that. This is my second product, and it has been much anticipated by our people because they're aware of the power and the requirement and the need for digestive enzymes. So I do have a special, you guys have waited so long. You've been so patient. You've been so supportive. At the very end, I do have a special gift for you guys because I love you. Thanks for the support. We'll talk about my special gift later, but I'm so excited, Rodney. This is a pretty amazing enzyme formula. And I'll talk a little bit about it because it ties in nicely. Inside Scoopers, if you have not watched the Dr. Katie Kangas episode 2 weeks ago, go back and watch it. Dr. Kangas discusses dysbiosis and helping to heal the gut. That's an important episode. If you've never even thought about probiotics or this is your enzymes and this is your very first Inside Scoop, watch the Dr. Katie Kangas episode 2 weeks ago and then watch last week's episode with Dr. Nick Thompson on pancreatitis, because digestive enzymes are something, and we'll talk about it with a bloat study as well. Digestive enzymes are something that if you can feed pancreas, like way better than anything I could ever produce is our God-given Mother Nature enzymes.
So people in the comment section are already running over and pre-ordering. So
so we should just tell them, okay,
do your surprise
just save
now?
some money. Yes, so I do, guys.
Everybody
yes.
So Inside Scoopers, this is also kind of big too because you're taking pre-orders because obviously the first one, the probiotics sold out. And so giving Inside Scoopers the first dibs before the general public digs their claws into it. Inside Scoopers, the wonderful doctor, offering for Inside Scoopers.
Yes.
For you guys only.
Yes, I just wanted you all have been so supportive and you have waited a long time. So thank you for waiting and supporting me. This is Prime 15 is the code. So if you're going to order right now, thank you. And you can pre-order. And what that means is your orders will be filled first. So if there is a shortage or supply issue, then yours will go out first, and just use Prime 15 to get the
Lisa
discount.
Lisa says, is the probiotic okay for puppies? Lisa, my gosh. Well, you and I, which I'm so excited about, I want to get on a plane so bad. Dr. Rosanna Marcella. Lisa, she is board certified dermatologist, veterinary dermatologist. She's got over 150 papers, scientific papers behind her name. She's past president of the American Veterinary Dermatology Association. They did a study, Lisa, on puppies, she said, and they gave puppies, at that time it was just one jar, she said. We just gave them one jar of probiotics.
Yep.
And we checked on those puppies later in life. And those puppies that got probiotics at an early age were less likely to develop allergies into the future or any
a lifelong protective effect. And Lisa,
crazy?
part of the reason why I think that happens, Rodney, is that puppies, their guts are hit with so much early on. Like if you think about the average puppy, most are vaccinated at 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 16 weeks. Most are dewormed once, twice, or 3 times. Most already have stuff coming in. And most well-loved puppies have been on a round of antibiotics because they eat crap by the time they're 6 months old. So they already are dealing with microbiome insults before 6 months of age. And what this dermatologist told us is that she was breeding allergy-prone beagles in her lab. She does a beautiful job. They all get saved and rescued at 2 years of age. They all come out of the lab and they get to live free on a farm. So she's an ethical researcher, but she does breed animals predisposed to allergies for research purposes. When she put those animals on probiotics as puppies, it had a protective effect for lifelong atopy or allergic symptoms. So,
I'm pretty sure
and
this.
you can rotate brands, rotate types, but absolutely, yes. What I would say is have a probiotic on hand for when insults occur. If the lawn chemical company sprays your apartment building, if your animal unexpectedly has got to go on, if your puppy's got to go on antibiotics, if your puppy's got to be dewormed, if you're going to give that first heartworm prevention, which we know disrupts the microbiome, it's not if microbiome disruption is headed your puppy's way, it's when. So just make sure that you're doing gut microbiome damage control as your puppy has inevitable, unavoidable microbiome trauma, which is going to happens to all of us. Don't panic. Just be able to have a reparative damage control protocol on board would be my suggestion. So nothing to panic about, but something to think about in terms of protecting your puppy's microbiome. And when those insult hits, do what you can to rebuild microbiome. So yeah, that's a really important idea.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure that was the one that I flashed by Dr. Rosanna. And if you're watching Dr. Rosanna, I'm really excited to come to Florida.
Yes.
And sit down and get this brilliant woman behind camera. Okay, well there it is, Inside Scoopers. So rather than you made me bring out the surprise early because I saw people running over to the carts.
Prime
50.
I just saved some money. Yeah, save some money, and that's awesome.
Okay,
we have an amazing bunch of studies, Rodney. You found some great studies today going on.
I sure did, which takes us to the Science Talk headlines of the week. Oh my gosh. There's so many studies. I don't even know where to start every week because of all the incredible studies that we have and things that we can potentially talk about. But just the most unbelievable,
Well, you're kind of I don't know, you're kind of literally sidetracked in this angle, like you're doing something.
Do you know what's going on?
I don't, but I can see something.
It's playing the music. I'm going to go back and listen to this podcast when I'm done later. Normally when I cut the segment, the music stops. The music keeps going. So the reason why I look like a deer in headlights is because the music is playing in my ear and I'm trying to talk over it and hear you.
So if you are having background music, elevator music this
Angela
whole time.
Says, where's the link to order? I'm so stupid. I didn't even bring up the link. Inside Scoopers. Sorry.
Yes. So Prime Enzymes, so you can go primeenzymes.com, or you can do proactivepause.com and get there. You can do primeenzymes.com and get there. And the code is PRIME15. Someone has to spell it out. If your eyesight's like mine. Yes. PRIME15, PRIME15.
Yeah, our admins are probably like,
did you get the music stopped?
The music finally stopped, but it's got there's literally a 30-second delay. So I can't tell you what it's like to talk over you. So Deborah says she can't hear the music. So it's only me. It's just in my earpiece, but it's blasting. So I'm trying to stay professional. Listen to the music.
That would be very difficult.
Trying to hear you at the same time and read the comments. And it's like, why is the music not stopping? Okay. So Prime Enzymes, I just dropped it in the comments section, or you can go to proactivepause.com to check it out. I guess that is important to tell Inside Scoopers where to go. Shout out to B. Adams who just dropped it in there. But I don't think proactivepause.com. I don't think B can get hyperlinked. So there, I just hyperlinked it. Okay.
All right.
Back to my.
So we do have some studies. Hopefully the music will stop. And there's some really interesting studies.
I'm probably going to avoid all music slides just moving forward at this point, which is probably really important. Listen.
Safe.
So this week, Inside Scoopers, you probably saw me post an older study that we've already talked about ad nauseum here in the Inside Scoop. That was the peer-reviewed study that was done by Nestle Purina. I know a lot of people were really offended that I shared it, but man, it's science about good food. So if you have the benefit of going out and buying it, adding it to your bowl and making your bowl better, I'm going to talk about it because it's going to make your life better. I'm not telling you to go buy ultra processed food. I'm telling you, look how cool this was. So we talked about the study to the left where it was a peer-reviewed study showing that adding a little bit of spirulina, blue-green algae to the diet made your vaccine response better. Now, why did that happen? Because that was really solely driven around the gut microbiome. The theory behind it and that peer-reviewed study at that time was that it's improving the gut barrier. helping to produce short chain fatty acids, and so on and so forth. And then there's been a little bit of a lull, Karen, before the next study came out. Today, I've got 2 studies published in Nature. Now one.
Look at you.
2 studies published. Now, Inside Scoopers, every week you hear me talk about Nature studies, and people are like, so what's the big deal? So the good doctor taught me back in the day, and you got it from Steve Brown, pertaining to, I can see it didn't update on this side, but I have it over here. We're a mess today here, Karen. We're a mess today here with technology.
I'm just so glad you have to push all the buttons, Rodney. I would not do well with all that.
So I got it everywhere. So if it's not gonna open on this computer, it's gonna open on this one. So when you're looking at studies, and so when we reference and we show you studies, right? Obviously, you can get some. Tim Spector used to always insult. He was like, we kind of like the Nature studies. We're not really big fan of like the studies that come out of third world countries, and that's not dissing the third world countries. They just, their journals, they're trying. I know, like in Turkey, and I don't want to call Turkey a third world country, but he did mention Turkey when we showed the kefir cat study that they did in Turkey, where they gave cats, they fed them like 250 mils, a quarter cup of kefir every single day. Those cats had not only a better quality of life, their microbiomes were absolutely unbelievable, but it was a Turkey study, and the snobs, the upper echelon of research.
I always thought that like fresh feeders attacked each other the most. No. Then I thought trainers, like dog trainers, like lethal. They attack they're nasty. They cannot get along. But who is the most aggressive to each other are people who publish research, because you can find a flaw in every single study. Like every single study you can pick apart. So in our world, Inside Scoopers, many of the studies coming out, guess who has the most money in our space? Pet food companies. So guess who's spending the money on research? Pet food companies. Most of their research is private, behind closed doors, that they're doing for their own damn products. But every now and then they're releasing a study that we can use for our benefit as pet owners in terms of making better choices. And this is one of them.
Okay, so Karen, publishing in Nature is extremely difficult with an overall acceptance rating of roughly 7 to 8%. So and it's often under 5% for unsolicited research papers. Like your chances are less than 5% of getting into Nature. The journal prioritizes studies that represent major field changing discoveries with broad prevalence beyond a single specialty, meaning that every very strong, well-designed research is often rejected. Jeez. So
it's a tough journal to get into. So, and yet if you look online, people,
pinnacle, FYI,
it is a top tier journal, no doubt. No one should be like, wow, it was published in Nature. No one would ever make that comment. But you will still see trolls online, Rodney, say it was only 50 dogs. It was only 62 dogs. It was only 127 dogs. And it was beagles. Well, I have a Great Dane. Like all of those comments you see online, because you can always pick apart every study. But in this situation, we're thankful. And you know what's so interesting? Some of us, Rodney, don't need studies. In fact, some of us take breaths and with a little bit sigh of being somewhat dismayed, thinking, how much money did they spend to prove that a food coming from nature does amazing things for the gut? Dr. PJ Broadfoot, fellow holistic veterinarian, 30 years ago at the AHVMA conference said, hey, listen, if you're looking for kind of a super green food that can just help animals' guts rebalance, try some spirulina. Thank you, Dr. Broadfoot. You recommended this 30 years ago with no peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo-controlled study. You just saw it work in your patients, and you've been telling people ever since. Sometimes common sense is really lovely.
Yeah, it's so the study was done pertaining to weight loss inside Scoopers. Now it's in Springer Nature, which is part of the Naturehood. Shout out to Dr. Holly Gantz, who's like, it's still always better. We still strive for the very top in Nature, but in Springer Nature, transcriptome changes in overweight neutered female dogs undergoing a weight loss program with or without spirulina supplementation. So this is a really fascinating study here because the researchers basically wanted to know that if dogs would lose weight going on spirulina. Now, sadly, they didn't get the outcome that they wanted in pertaining to weight loss. But man, oh man, did they ever get something totally different pertaining to the overall reduction in metabolic stress and inflammation in all of the dogs. So most of the changes in the dog's body were driven by caloric restriction and weight loss, so not spirulina itself. However, dogs not only did they, so weight loss reduction in these dogs, the spirulina came in and helped with oxidative stress, cell damage, and excess fat metabolism. So spirulina showed benefits in lowering the inflammation, healthier immune system signaling, balanced cell turnover, and apoptosis. Like, I didn't know that it actually, spirulina created apoptosis. I know turmeric always did, but spirulina?
Isn't it cool?
I had no idea.
And it's interesting because I think when people view this as, well, it's a failed study, it doesn't help mammals lose weight, we still learned amazing things from this study, like all of the other incredible benefits of this inexpensive super green food that can really provide so much microbiome support. Yeah, it's amazing.
In the dog's blood work with the spirulina, they showed that there was improvements in triglycerides, cholesterol, blood sugars, and antioxidant capacity. Like, holy moly, just another incredible study pertaining to spirulina blue-green algae. But another one that validates that if you are looking to fix your dog's microbiome, or if you potentially have dysbiosis with your dog, spirulina, man, it is a massive, massive aiding component in fixing your dog's microbiome. And what an incredible add just to the bowl in terms of all the antioxidant capabilities, right? Oxidative stress, like, come on, why would that? So, in the olden days, Karen, it was my top 5 ad, always in my top 5 ad.
Yep.
Then I kind of got away from it a little bit, right? I don't know if you want to address, I took out a section for the BMMA, just, I know that was a thing, and then it kind of died out again, and nobody talked about it.
I don't even know. Yeah,
so
microsistence,
if you want it, but.
Yeah, you're fine in reading that. I mean, I think most people are well aware that you're not going to do hard.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're not going to harvest. Inside Scoopers, you're going to buy spirulina from a reputable company. You're not going to try and grow it yourself. There's no DIY. You're not going to go to a pond and try and harvest any. There's a massive confusion between toxic blue-green algae that kills all mammals and healthy blue-green algae. Yeah. And companies that are selling algae should put right on their website that it has been tested for microsystems. And so, Rodney, you can read the paragraph. If this is brand new information, you can read it. But I think for most people, this is the topic.
So when purchasing, do you need to worry about BMAA, which stands for B-methylamino L-alanine, a neurotoxin amino acid produced by some cyanobacteria? So spirulina doesn't naturally produce BMAA. The risk, as you said, Karen, comes from when it's wild harvested or grown in uncontrolled ponds. I did see in pictures back in the day, people in China were growing it on top of their rooftops and harvesting. Maybe
and there's a
dodgy thing off of Alibaba. Maybe.
Right. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. But obviously, it's considered very low when spirulina is cultivated in controlled systems, sourced from certified strains and independently tested for BMAA and other toxins under the GMP standards. So basically, if you get the GMP standards on it, you're never going to see something like this.
That's just it. If you're using human grade spirulina, every website that you go to is going to say it's third-party tested for this. And I don't know of a source that isn't third-party tested. Back in the day, certainly, there could have been animal source products they were buying products that failed human inspection go into animal feed. That is a common thing, which is why I only recommend human grade supplements for animals. But this day and age, every company I can think of does third-party testing. So that's good. Kelly says there is no background music. Woohoo!
Yeah, thank God. And so if you are starting it for the first time Inside Scoopers, especially, I mean, holy gosh, how awesome is it? If somebody's going in, I don't know, for their core set of vaccines, you got your puppies, you add a little bit into their food. Now you have the ability to increase that sort of without inflammation. So it's not overstimulating the immune system in any way, according to the researchers, which is really, really important. So it says without increasing inflammation or signs of immune overstimulation, 1/4 of a teaspoon per 20 pounds of body weight is what we recommend in the Forever Dog.
I will just give a shout out to my best friend, Dr. Susan Recker. You're probably watching. Hello, and I miss you. Her kitty has autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Cheryl has weight. She blew past her 9 lives, like the first 3 years of her life, with repeated life-threatening crises of her red blood cell count getting down to like, she should have been transfused every 6 months for her like 11 years of life. It's shocking that she's still alive. We're so grateful. We also, like, she's a resilient cat. Susan leaves a bowl of spirulina out on the counter for Cheryl to participate in zoopharmacognosy, which means when Cheryl wants to eat a blood builder, she will go and self-serve. And Susan, I know that you have sent me videos. I wish I would have loaded one up. Cheryl will sometimes eat 37 spirulina in a day and then skip a few days and then eat 11 and then like eat 56 one day. Some people will say, how much is too much? Cheryl is a testament that worst case scenario, probably you give your dog some diarrhea, your kitty some diarrhea. But if a 12-pound cat can eat 60 of those bastards in one day and have beautiful poo, the threshold for toxicosis, I don't think there is one. You would just get loose poo. That being said, I will say that it is, some people will say, I'm using spirulina as my whole food vitamin mineral supplement for my homemade diet. When you read the specs on spirulina, it literally is a whole food. Like, it has all the minerals, all the amino acids, all the vitamins, but it is in homeopathic amount. So it's teeny tiny amounts of copper, teeny tiny amounts of vitamins and minerals. Are they in whole food format? Yes. Is it really absorbable? Yes. I think that that's where the benefits of those studies come in, where it's like, oh my gosh, look at all the amazing things it does. Spirulina does all that. But even if you fed 4 cups of spirulina powder to try and meet minimum nutrient requirements for your dogs or cats, you're not going to get it. So just be wary of people saying, I just add a little bit of spirulina and my homemade recipe's balanced. It is not. So that's my one caveat, is that I love it as a supplement. It is not going to balance incomplete homemade diets.
Laura says dosage 1/4 of a teaspoon per 20 pounds of body weight. You are so right. When I was growing up back in the day, when you were a raw feeder, they'd say put a 1/4 teaspoon of spirulina and it balances your entire diet.
You're good to go.
And you're good to go. And gosh,
crazy.
Those were the
and
raw
I
days,
made
the
Steve
rough and
Brown.
raw days. Yeah.
Those were the rough and raw days. I made Steve Brown calculate. This was probably over 10 years ago. I made him calculate just how much. There was a company that came out with a green powder and said, just use a green powder and it'll balance the diet. Literally, like 1.5 pounds of spirulina in a 10-pound recipe. No dog's gonna eat. You just have green powder food. No dog is gonna eat it, and it's still deficient. It's still not meeting minimum nutrient requirements. So just don't even try. But as an overall boost, especially for building microbiome health, research shows that as little as 5 grams of some of these whole food powders and fibers are an amazing boost to the GI tract. So it's not about volume. It's about a little bit goes a long way in helping to support your pet's microbiome. It's awesome.
All right.
Good study, Rodney. Yeah. Nicely done.
Steve says, great study. So watching on, shout out to Steve. All right. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you ready for the next one? Julie says, where can you get it? Julie, you can get it almost anywhere. I would definitely tell you this, as we mentioned 10 trillion times, sourcing is very important. Or I get mine organic. I get mine from Organic Matters here in Canada. But you guys have like a lot of incredible companies in the U.S. to be able to get a good quality organic source. All right. Now, I've got another Springer Nature study. And
let's see it.
This one, holy moly.
Ooh,
Karen, nobody is talking about this one. I brought it up last week.
This is the one that Dr. Thompson was like, show us, right?
We had the incredible, shout out to Dr. Nick Thompson, one of the trio of the three amigos of the Raw Pet Medics. And we brought this up quickly. I didn't have slides inside Scoopers. I said, hey, we're going to talk about it next week. Waltham, how would you describe the Waltham Institute? I only think of Mars when I think of
yeah, you should think that. Yeah. And this goes right back to ultra processed pet food companies having a shit ton of money. And you know what's nice is that instead of just trying to R&D their products, they're actually looking at microbiome. Yay for ultra processed pet food companies shelling out some money for some research. Good on and publishing it and sharing it with all of us. Good on them.
Okay. So Inside Scoopers, this is a sort of landmark study, if you may, pertaining to the microbiome. Like, I suppose this is what everybody's theoretically been waiting for. Somebody with, as you said, a shit ton of money that was able to map out the microbiome of a dog. And I'm sure they're doing the cat next. This is a peer-reviewed study that shows 240 core bacterial species were identified that together represent 80% of the canine gut microbiome in an independent validation data set. The team discovered over 900 new canine-specific species, 89 complete novel species, and 10 novel bacterial genera. Like, oh my gosh. Here's the 10,000 foot overview. We've always known about 25% of the microbiome. According to
Yes.
Waltham, they believe they've mapped out 95% of the microbiome with this study.
So, Rodney, that's the most mind-blowing part of this Inside Scoopers. What this study says is that prior to this groundbreaking research, we knew 25% of the species that were in a dog's gut. That's also why, Rodney, all probiotics, basically were human probiotics, because we didn't know enough about the dog gut to know. So we're just taking human strains, guys. There was a question, can I use humans? Totally fine. You're not harming your animals giving human probiotics. Zero harm. Totally fine. The question is, how much are you helping? And what this research shows is that dogs have a unique microbiome that is entirely theirs, and it is not a little mini human microbiome. It's its own thing. And the coolest thing about this study, Rodney, in addition to the 89 brand new species of beneficial good bacteria they found in the dog's gut, none of them were harmful or potentially pathogenic. They were all good guys, right? They're all there. We're learning more about the canine microbiome and how we can support it. And we know that species-specific strains would be a good idea in this situation. B, this is a lovely slide.
Yeah.
And not just because, first of all, I had never seen this slide until right now. I think I picked my olive color is very on par for today's theme. It's a very beautiful slide. And what it shows Inside Scoopers, I can't read the yellow, but I think it talks about how, okay, you read it.
So here's what's crazy exciting. Now, obviously, Karen, you already know about this. Inside Scoopers, this helps validate a lot of things in vet medicine that really were just very speculative. So people had no idea whether the things that the conditions or the diseases or the situations that you go in with your dogs were actually microbiome related, that until this study actually came out. So according to the scientists, they've also discovered a range of species that were identified with potential to produce key metabolites like butyrate, like propionate, and like vitamins. Now, what makes this even cooler is, of all of these strains, you've always heard, and we talked about it last week with Dr. Nick Thompson, pertaining to the fact that dogs, when they evolved at some point, nobody really knows when, between 30 to 15,000 years is what scientists are currently arguing about, where the wolf somehow evolved into a dog, that the dog developed a gene to be able to digest starch. Well, according to Waltham, that dogs rely on the gut bacteria to digest food, which the gut bacteria do more of the heavy lifting than they believe the genes. So dogs lack many genes needed to break down carbohydrates and fiber. Their gut microbiomes do the heavy lifting. So in other words, when people reference the genes for the digestion of those things, the scientists say that it's the microbes that are doing that. They've discovered new key bacteria that make anti-inflammatory compounds. And here's one of the big ones, and this is the one that I know that we should be talking about a little bit more once Karen comes back, but pertaining to gut bacteria, Karen, that make essential nutrients. So some dogs' microbes produce vitamins and their microbes produce vitamins and amino acids like lysine, supporting muscle immunity and recovery. We've posted this on your page. This is really, really important pertaining to, if your dog's microbiome is damaged and they cannot digest amino acids properly because you've lost the microbes, somehow the dog's lost the microbes, whether it's heavy doses of antibiotics, whether there's many things like environmentally that can destroy the dog's microbiome. Now you have somebody feeding the best raw food or the best lightly cooked food or the best minimally processed food like freeze-dried and so on and so forth to their animal, but that animal's not thriving. They're doing terrible. As that dog ages, because they're missing that subset of bacteria to break down amino acids, lysine being the big one, the dog starts muscle wasting because it's posted on your page in that study meme. So you always, if you go out and you see a physio and rehab specialist, somebody like Sarah, let's say, and Sarah looks at your dog, or your veterinarian looks at your dog, and they're muscle wasting in the back end, you're like, man, I'm giving them so much protein. Why on earth are they muscle wasting? I'm exercising them. Because they're missing the microbes to break down lysine. And by deduction, they start to lose their back end.
Rodney, it's muscle wasting, yes, but also nutrient production and nutrient absorption. Rodney, without these keystone species, animals are having a difficult time making adequate B vitamins. Like, how many animals with gut issues are low on Bs? We talked about that with Dr. Nick Thompson last week as well. Veterinarians oftentimes give B12 shots, but that's just one of the B vitamins. What about all the others? Animals can live in a state of nutritional deficiency, not because owners aren't putting those vitamins and minerals in. They're in the diet. People go to great extents to make sure that their animals' meals are not just meet minimum nutritional requirements, that they are nutritionally optimal. But it's not just making sure the food has everything in it. It's how well is your dog digesting and absorbing the nutrients you're putting in. One thing that I have seen repeatedly just in the last 3 or 4 years are people that do vitamin D testing. They're like, holy cats, low. They start upping the amount of D. But guess what? The blood tests don't always respond. So they're giving more D and more D and more D. And the dog's blood work is not improving. You got to go look at the gut at that point and wonder, I'm putting it in, and so they must not be absorbing it. And that's a very good logical train of thought that we need to be thinking, that if our animals have nutrient deficiencies that we can measure and we know that it's in the food that we're providing, something is happening in the gut. And this study helps pet parents understand why and the importance of doing all we can to protect microbiome, rebuild the microbiome, but also make sure that we are potentially, when there's hiccups or symptoms, Rodney, is how our pets' bodies talk to us. So when you have recurrent GI symptoms, you need to stop and think about, like, why is that? I think, Rodney, there's so many sick gutted dogs in this world that people are so used to the symptoms that they think it's, bless you, normal. They just assume a farty, belchy dog that has intermittent soft stool and has reflux is just how they are. That's just I was taught at vet school that all cats puke. That's flipping terrible. Okay, Inside Scoopers, this is a little quiz. Y'all know that I've given this quiz every year since we started this podcast 10 years ago. What's the only animal on this beautiful planet that it is very normal physiologic process for them to puke as a defense mechanism? Okay, whoever answers this is gonna tell us, is gonna help us. Listen, whoever answers it, you get a free bottle of Prime enzymes. Woohoo! I feel like Oprah Winfrey.
You're doing a giveaway?
Yeah, I just spontaneous, but because I know Inside Scoopers that have been with us like going on 10 years, and they're like, I know what this is.
The music. Oh, I just played this live with music. Oh, I hate my life.
All right.
I just played this live with music.
This is really good music. Inside Scoopers, if you know the blessed animal that pukes as a defense mechanism and it's totally normal, please post it, and we will give you a bottle of Prime. I'll give you some tips. This particular animal is a scavenger. Oh, Nicole won. Yes. Vultures. Vultures eat dead stuff. They're nature's cleanup crew. And vultures eat them, like, they can eat botulism-filled, disgusting virus infect. They can eat animals that have died of plague. Eat it. Their stomach acid is so strong, their body temperature is so high that they burn off all those terrible infectious diseases. Yeah. And they're pacifists. Vultures are the kindest, sweetest animals. My mama just wrote a beautiful blog about a vulture I rehabbed. They're the most gentlest. They're in the condor family. They're gentle, kind, intelligent animals. Vulture populations are plummeting right now around the world because of pesticide and antibiotic use. So vulture populations are crashing. That means disease risk is very, very high. When vultures are afraid, they puke. The only animals on the planet that it's okay that they puke, and it's not related to disease, are vultures. No other animal should puke, and those watching the puking say, oh, it's fine. They always do that. We can't say that about our own bodies. And we certainly can't say that about dogs and cats' bodies. If our animals are puking, regurgitating, and have any GI symptoms that are happening in a chronic repeatable pattern, that's the body talking to us. And I just want to encourage people to not view it as normal. Dee says humans are vultures.
It's true.
Very true, Dee. But yes, but vultures are at least beneficial scavengers. Humans are just parasites.
Before we jump into a big topic and one that was always a mystery to veterinary science, aka bloat, I just want to touch on a couple quick things here that were really enlightening in that Waltham study. So shout out for them for releasing that. I'm sure many people around the world are going to do very good things with that. So when the lysine producing microbes that they found in that study, when they're damaged, so not only do you get the muscle maintenance becomes harder, so you watch these poor senior dogs start to lose lean muscle mass, but then recovery from illness or injury slows, and then the immune resilience drops drastically in that senior dog, missing those microbes, which is why it's so darn important that you're checking the microbiome like you do traditional blood work. So if you are doing like an overall wellness exam once a year for your senior or geriatric dog, and if your insurance covers it or if you can afford it, a microbiome test would not hurt at that stage, just to see what's going on under the hood. But one of the other ways that you can damage those microbes is repetitive diet feeding. In other words, we posted it this week on our pages. When you lack the diversity, or when you feed that's why we're so adamant about fiber. We talk about it ad nauseum every single week. I get scared when I see people out there saying you don't need fiber, don't give the dog, just feed them meat, become prey model, the dog will be fantastic. You could cause such long-term damage to somebody's dog. I can't tell you, I would flip out on that person that gave me that advice. And then I destroyed my dog's microbiome, which is why they lost the ability to repair, because you told me that just feeding an 80-10-10 diet was going to be fine for my dog.
Yes.
I understand why people can get really upset online, with that type of misinformation, but that can really shorten the lifespan of your pet. And I would be so angry with the person that gave me that advice. Man, you took years away from my dog. It's not going to be good for you. But that said, when you are feeding repetitive diets, so then how many people go out and buy a brand of pet food? They are loyal to that. They don't rotate it. And then they destroy that diversity. And now their dogs have lost the ability, the microbes, to produce lysine.
Rodney, I think part of the reason you're so passionate about this is that Inside Scoopers, I don't know if you know this, Rodney has done more animal biome tests, well over 10,000, than any single veterinarian in I would even challenge even a veterinary practice in North America. Rodney has done more individual testing of animals. And you started seeing this trend. I mean, we all were prey model at one point in time, 25 years ago. And then I did it to my dog, and I switched, and then I saw my clients doing it to their dogs, and then help them fix their microbiomes. But Rodney, you see those reports of people that are just reading things online, and instead of listening to their dog's bodies, they are just following advice online, and it's causing harm. And I think that's the reason that you feel as strongly as you do.
Yeah. I really feel strongly about it. Deborah says, what does HPP do to food? Deborah, watch the segment that we did all on HPP with board certified veterinary nutritionist, Dr. Susan Nguyen. It's a 2-hour discussion on HPP science and so on and so forth, which is really good. Yeah, that's Crystal says we'll be doing Lupa's 11th biome test this month. Can I tell you, Crystal, that is just she's like a microbiome pro. Crystal, who's in the Inside Scoopers, Crystal's like your perfect prime example, feeding one incredible diet. So Iron Will, which is here in Canada, great company. I know they're Inside Scoopers, so on and so forth. However, fiber needs to be added to that diet. And here's why, because when it's void of, there's only 10% fiber in there. Maybe for some dogs, genetically, they can get away with it. I don't believe so in my heart. But the diversity in her dog was gone. She turns around and then starts adding up fiber, like more fiber into that diet, bringing it up from 10% and higher, redoes an animal biome report, boom, microbiome starts to grow. I just finished talking to like a celebrity trainer who feeds a company called We Feed Raw. Great company, doing incredible things. I know they're on Susan Thixton's list, but there's no fiber in the diet. So he was feeding the dog. He sends me the animal biome report. It's zeros, Karen.
Zeros.
The whole thing is zeros. He turns around. He starts adding Gussie's gut. He starts adding more fiber. He starts adding a cup of that to the We Feed Raw. Boom. He's got growth now. The gut lining starts to seal.
A lot of these companies are not adding in veggies, but that's why companies, Rodney, like Green Juju exist. Like all they do is microbiome builders. I shouldn't say all they do, but I mean, their company was founded on toppers that build the microbiome. So it's totally fine. If you're in an environment where the food that you're feeding doesn't have enough, it's our job as owners to tweak and customize the diet around our own animal's microbiome. Really an important point to mention. I'm glad that you did that.
What's a good test? The only one I know of, Karen, is animal biome currently. Somebody said there's one in Canada that's starting. I don't know very much about them. Melinda, or if anyone knows of any other good microbiome studies, please pop it into the comment section. I know Pet Innovative Labs, we've had them on. I don't think they can test the diversity of the biome, but they can test for zonulin and things that would be creating inflammation and so on and so forth. But don't listen to me. Just test. That's the easiest way to see if it's working or not, right? Like, don't listen to anybody. Just if somebody tells you this is the best diet in the entire world, try it. Test before, test after. That's how you're going to know, right? So anyways, I'm so passionate about that because more and more, I mean, look, Karen, I think it's way less of the people saying feed pray model. I think more people have common sense today. They're like, come on, man, like, what are we talking about here? I actually talked to Kelly from Green Juju the other day on the phone, and she was telling me, she was like, I don't need all the research to know that putting in these polyphenols and antioxidants, my dogs look better, they feel better, their digestive system, like, I don't need science for you to tell me that there's some incredible benefits to, plants that God put on this planet for all. Right. We're not saying make your dog vegan or vegetarian, but we're just saying you need fiber.
Gosh, so, right. God, exactly.
I feel like I talk about it every week.
We do talk, but I think that we have to, because there's this old, outdated myths just don't die. So I do think it's worth talking about every week.
You sent me a study that
you
sent me a study that floored the Inside Scoopers we just posted moments ago. Karen, I don't know very much about bloat. I've heard about bloat. I've heard every myth that you could possibly imagine around bloat. I've always heard you always should be feeding a dog in a raised bowl to prevent bloat.
Right.
I ran out. You saw them. I bought these incredible, like there's raised feeders everywhere in my house because as I started off in this very early, not very early, but I started in, 2004 is kind of where the researching all started. But 2010, I started elevating all my bowls because I didn't want my dogs to get bloat. I always was then told that only dogs that were fed kibble got bloat, which is also BS. Shout out to Mandy, my manager, and Sean O'Hanley. Their dog Bosco died at 14, and he was not a large breed dog. He died of bloat. And he was raw fed. And then I was told it was only large breed dogs that got it. And Bosco wasn't a large breed dog, right? It was 60 pounds.
That's just it. Rodney, bloat has mystified the veterinary community since we all have seen bloat cases, because all of these things, like there was a study that says yes to elevation. Then there was a second study, coming out that said no, elevation doesn't matter. Citric acid, no citric acid, dry. And so it's confusing because none of these factors correlate with all of the diversity of the cases that we're seeing. So we just don't know a whole lot about bloat. This study provides, to me, the most logical explanation of what can be going on because it ties in the potential genetics. We know that some deep-chested breeds are certainly just physiologically, their bodies are shaped in a way that if they're going to have gas production in the stomach, then their stomach can twist more. So bloat is one thing. Filling up with gas is one thing. When the stomach spins, is when it pinches off vital organs, blood supply, and animals die in a very short period of time. So that's called GDV. That is a life-threatening. Bloat is scary and can turn life-threatening in a second. Once the stomach flips, it is life-threatening. And you need to have medical care and surgery, usually surgery, immediately. Rodney, what this study found was that dogs that developed bloat had a very clearly different microbiome compared to healthy dogs. Number one, high-risk dogs had harmful imbalances in their microbiome, a pattern associated with excessive fermentation and inflammation. Guys, I want you to remember that because I'm going to come back to excessive fermentation. There are some foods that ferment way faster than other foods. And if you have a high-risk bloat dog, you're going to reduce those high-risk foods today. Point number three, that what this research found is that there's certain genuses of bacteria in GDB dogs, like microbes like Calenza, that in other species are increased gut permeability and inflammation signaling in dogs. Point four, GDV risk strongly correlated with immune system genetic variants. I'm not going to read the variants, but in the study, and our beautiful admins are posting the study in the link so you guys can read it, that there are some genetic predispositions to how dogs' bodies sense and maintain GI immune balance within their GI tracts. Y'all remember that the GI tract of dogs and kitties is the largest immune organ in their body, and that there's a genetic interplay with how their immune system is responding to the bacteria and the food within that tube. Dogs carrying these immune genetic variants were less able to regulate fermentation, gut barrier integrity, and inflammatory responses. So this altogether created conditions that allowed for favorable gas buildup. That's the problem. Now, the researchers also found that diet alone did not explain the microbiome differences. And that is really important, guys, because you can see dogs bloat on raw food, cooked food, extruded food, freeze-dried food, dehydrated food. The food itself is just one factor, but the fermentation and the genetic predisposition to how well your dog can deal with that fermentation is a really big issue. So the findings suggest that GDV is a microbiome immune interaction disorder and not a simply mechanical or feeding related problem. That in conclusion, genetically, what these dogs are able to digest and not ferment, Rodney, is what we need to be thinking about. So I just finished writing this section for our upcoming book, for the new book, because Rodney, I think what we need to be thinking about, those of you that are in the human medical space, and there's a lot of you in the group, and I love you guys. Those of you that are human nutritionists, those of you that deal with human health conditions and human microbiome conditions, you are very well aware that small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, is a massive problem with humans. A lot of humans have SIBO. They have problems with gas and bloating, and they have a really hard time dealing with highly fermentable foods. Out of this, a human definition called FODMAP. Guys, FODMAP is an acronym that stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols, which is a group of short-chain carbohydrates that are poorly absorbed in the small intestine, and they ferment rapidly. So those of you in the human space, you've heard about a low FODMAP diet, and some of you have maybe read about it. Even if you're not in the human space, you may have heard that term pertaining to people, that there's these FODMAP foods, these highly fermentable carbs that are not good for gas production. And here's the list of high FODMAP foods that if y'all have a Great Dane or any other breed prone to bloat, I would suggest that you follow the human science and the human data and this study on dog bloat, saying maybe it's time that we rethink how quickly these bloat-prone dogs are fermenting foods within their diet. So the foods that I would tell you, if I had a dog that was predisposed to bloat, I would not give garlic. Now, do we love garlic? Yes. You hear us talk about garlic all the time, but garlic is a high FODMAP food. Asparagus, cauliflower, mushrooms, artichoke, peas, beets, Brussels sprouts, and fennel, those are the veggies that produce GI gas quickly. Now, if your dog has the microbes to break them down, they're fine. I give every single one of those veggies to Homer all the time. He does not need a low FODMAP diet. So what I don't want you guys to think is to read this slide and think, oh my gosh, I have a Yorkie. I feed all these foods. I need to stop. Just remember that very few dogs have the genetic predisposition for bloat. Thank God. But if you're listening to this podcast because you do have a high risk dog, or you have had dogs that bloat before, and this is your breed of choice, and you know that your breed of choice is high risk for bloating, I would not do highly fermentable veggies. I would avoid legumes and grains. And I would also, the number one, Rodney, the number one thing that has the highest fermentation that should be absolutely avoided at all cost is, do you know what I'm going to say? Prebiotic supplements. Inulin, chicory root, and other prebiotic supplements, FOS. The number one way to add gas quickly is give prebiotic supplements. Now, you guys, I'm not anti-prebiotic supplements, but I would not, if I had a bloat-prone dog, I would not give them. So there again, we're not attacking any category of supplements. In some situations, those of you that are or have been my clients, you're like, you one time gave my dog a prebiotic. We can look at your dog's microbiome and see if they need prebiotic fiber or not. But what I'm not a fan of is to automatically give prebiotic supplements to animals that don't need them. Dairy is also on that list. So high FODMAP veggies, legumes, and fruits, dairy, as well as prebiotic supplements. If I had a high-risk breed, Rodney, I just wouldn't do it. Now, if you remember 2 weeks ago, we had beautiful Dr. Katie Kangas on talking all about dysbiosis, Rodney. And what she mentioned about bloat, and I totally agree with this, is that when dogs eat this bolus of dry food, yes, the dry food probably has corn, wheat, rice, legumes, some of those potentially highly fermentable carbs in them. That's not helping at all. But y'all remember the beautiful information that Dr. Katie Kangas gave you was that when dogs eat dry food, high risk breed for bloat, then they go to their water bowl. And so they wolf down their food, bolus of high carb fermentable food, raw materials. Then they go drink a ton of water. They're diluting their stomach acid. And Rodney, low stomach acid is like a big thing with ultra processed fed dogs. So when we dilute stomach acid, it's the stomach acid that is necessary for not only to break down dog food, but to promote peristalsis. And Dr. Katie Kangas spent an hour discussing in our group. It's well worth going back and watching that podcast to understand the important role of stomach acid. Because Rodney, one of the things that happens with these dogs that are predisposed to bloat is that they do not have adequate stomach acid. So I am a huge believer in managing this hypochlorhydria, which is the medical term for low acid in a dog's stomach. And one of the things that Dr. Katie Kangas said that she would recommend is adding digestive enzymes. Now, this is not a shameless plug for my digestive enzyme. I don't care what brand you use, but I will tell you this. If you have a dog prone to bloat, you absolutely need to be giving digestive enzymes. And go listen to Dr. Katie Kangas tell you why. I do recommend digestive enzymes for animals that are dealing with excessive gas production, not just because reducing gas reduces the risk of bloat, but because, Rodney, animals that are eating dry foods, there are enzymes, naturally occurring enzymes in living foods. But if the food has been high heat processed, enzymes are super sensitive to heat. And so if the food has been heated at all, the enzymes that were once in the foods are now gone. So you might be saying, "Ooh, thank goodness I feed raw food." And so do I. And yes, your raw meats and the raw veggies you're giving, they absolutely have those enzymes. However, Rodney, what's lacking in the traditional raw food diets is an enzyme called lipase. Lipase is what breaks down fat. And none of our dogs or cats are getting enough lipase unless you're giving pancreas. So this is my shameless plug, Rodney, for people to buy pancreas. Before you consider buying my digestive enzyme or anyone else's digestive enzyme, Rodney, what I recommend people do is try and feed pancreas. What nature would be providing people is pancreas. When dogs and cats would hunt their prey, they will eat the pancreas. That supplies all of the amylase, lipase, and protease that they need to process their food. If we can give fresh pancreas, you're not going to this list of symptoms that are enzyme deficiency symptoms. Regurgitation, nausea, all of that gurgling, lip-lipping, air swallowing, all of these things that happen when dogs eat a meal and then digestion or assimilation doesn't go well. These are the minor symptoms that we tend to, I don't want to say ignore, but that we tend to just assume is normal. And as Dr. Katie Kanga said, adding digestive enzymes, a specific source of amylase, lipase, and protease, is one of the best ways to help animals digest and absorb their food better. So I do think that we have this hidden epidemic of malabsorption going on in pets, partly because we're not feeding pancreas. So my take-home message first is if you can feed raw, living, fresh pancreas, that is the way nature intended your pets to get digestive enzymes. If you can't, then you need to buy a source of digestive enzymes. Now,
Okay, so just for people that are just joining, because they're probably wondering what the heck we're
oh,
showing, because the thing about our live streams where you got tens of thousands of people who tune in at different segments, they probably have no idea what's going on. Inside Scoopers, if you're just tuning in, the incredible. That's why, as you were talking, I was trying to flash all these weird slides. People are probably like, what the heck is he showing here?
what the heck's going
The
on?
good doctor announced in the beginning of the show about an hour ago. We're at an hour and 12 minutes now. About an hour ago, the release of Primezymes, the new digestive enzymes you have coming out for Inside Scoopers only. There is a coupon code Prime15. So at primeenzymes.com or proactivepause.com.
Pause.
Link is in the section. I'm sure the incredible B. Adams will drop it. I can drop it again in a second. Yes, this is what I was flashing. And then you were,
Well,
and then as
and
you were on
thank
your,
you.
and as you were on your slide, because I wanted to, or I was on this slide here. I just wanted to talk
So,
for me about ox bile and how much I love it, but I don't want to take you
yeah,
off topic. So keep
well,
going.
and so listen, we can talk about oxybio, but let's first talk about the fact, Inside Scoopers, Rodney and I interviewed Dr. Sharon Center last week, and y'all don't know maybe who she is. Rodney was just blown away. Dr. Sharon Center is the board certified internal medicine doctor who also has an obsession with pathology. She is the veteran, incredible researcher at Cornell Veterinary School who has discovered that we are basically giving dogs way, way, way too much copper in dog foods. We're over supplementing copper. And she's on a mission to help pet parents better understand that we have inadvertently been over supplementing copper for dogs for years. And so when I went to vet school 30 years ago, they said, oh, don't worry about copper unless you have a genetically predisposed dog. That is not the case anymore. We have to worry about over supplementing with copper with all dogs because now dogs have nutritionally related copper toxicosis. And how it manifests, Rodney, is elevated liver enzymes. Her statement on our interview, your jaw dropped. She said to us, if you have a dog that has elevated ALT, liver enzymes, or elevated bile acids, total bilirubin's high, you need to stop and think about how much copper is in the dog food you are supplying. Dr. Sharon Center talked repeatedly about how we are dealing with an epidemic of dogs with gallbladder problems, and we need to stop and think about why is that? Why do we have so many dogs with elevated liver enzymes? And why do we have so many dogs with gallbladder stuff going on? And so you asked about ox bile. I did include ox bile in my digestive enzyme because bile deficiency, not only do a lot of dogs have their gallbladders removed, but a lot of dogs, Rodney, they need gallbladder support. Yep, their liver is not flowing right. Yep, their liver is congested. Their liver is not participating in phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. But above all that, Rodney, their bile is meant to be recycled in the body. The body reuses bile. And you have to have lipase, bile, and if you have a sludgy, backed up gallbladder, you don't have enough bile, and taurine. In order for your dogs to recycle bile, you have to have all three of those issues. So thanks for asking. When I first showed Rodney my lineup for this digestive enzyme, he goes, why did you put taurine and ox bile in there? Because lipase, bile, and taurine work together synergistically to keep that gallbladder flowing and to keep digestion moving forward. And just supplying lipase alone, lipase is in there to help break down fats. Ox bile is in there for sluggish bile flow, but taurine is the biologically active amino acid that is necessary for the recycling of bile. And without that, gallstones and a sludgy gallbladder is oftentimes the end result. So was that a long-winded response as to why I included ox bile?
No. I became a fan of it. I remember I asked you about it a while back ago because Inside Scooper, who if you remember, 2 times this happened to 2 inside scoopers from my hometown when you were here.
Scheduled for surgery.
Jennifer Fifield was scheduled for surgery with her terrier.
Yeah, gallbladder removal.
And she was getting the gallbladder out. And I was like, hey, where are you going? She's like, I'm going in the hospital. I'm going to get the gallbladder removed on the damn dog because it keeps sludging up. God had you in the car beside me. You turned around, you looked at me, you're like, hey, you should talk to her about potentially like getting on a lower fat diet and bringing in a digestive enzyme with ox bile. So I remember I walked up to her and shout out to Jennifer. She's in the comment section now watching. I said, Jen, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, what? And I was like, yes. And she goes, who told you that? And then I said, Dr. Becker. And she was like, I'm going to do that right now. She canceled the surgery. I swear to God, went home, started it, unsludged the gallbladder bile. The gallbladder starts functioning properly. She's like, oh my God, this was life-saving. How come no one ever told me about this? The second time, shout out to the inside scooper. I just won't say her name. She can say her name in the comment section if she'd like. She goes to my local veterinary clinic here in Burnside. The gallbladder is plugged with a stone, and I laymanize this, apologies. Blocked with a stone. Dog is 12.
Which is a medical emergency. I just have to listen.
She doesn't have
if your
the
dog's
money,
gallbladder is
she doesn't have the money to take it out. That's why I don't want to say her name. But she told me I could say the story. She doesn't want to remove the gallbladder. She doesn't have the money, to remove the stone. But not just that. She could have probably got the money. Let me not say it that way because I got so many stories in my head. I do know the fact that the dog was 12, and they said if they put it under, it may not come back. I think that was the primary driver, aside from then spending thousands and thousands of dollars to get it removed.
Yeah, it's a 10 grand surgery.
I said to her, hey, I know it's probably too late, but low-fat diet, bring in some digestive enzymes, bring in something with ox bile in it, right? A little bit of choline.
And,
right?
Yep.
She turns around, does it. I swear to God, stone passes. Saves the dog's life. If she wants to say something in the inside scoop, she can. I'm sorry to say, but didn't have the money. I probably shouldn't have said it that way. It was more or less the dog.
Yeah, but who has 10 grand sitting around? Literally no one I know. I mean, I'm sure that those people are out there, but that's a hard go. And the other thing, Rodney, for people who are blessed financially, who can have their dog's gallbladders removed, you know what happens on top of that? Digestion is never the same. Inside scoopers, y'all that have had your gallbladders removed, you chime in because none of you will say my body functions exactly as it did before I had it. You have permanent changes to digestion after your gallbladder is removed. Does your body work? Yeah, as well as it should? No. And so that's also why I have included bile replacement, is that most dogs really benefit from a little bit more. And if God forbid their gallbladder is not functioning up to par, you can supply all the digestive enzymes in the world, but you're not going to get that gallbladder flowing without taurine, lipase, and a source of bile to get the recycling process headed in the right direction.
I would always have to buy the now human products. Try to figure out like the human dosing. Shout out to the company now to get people, especially with a sludged up gallbladder. And then, so thank you for putting the ox bile extract in it.
Well,
especially for when the product, because so many people are saying,
godsend.
Is it,
yes.
Everyone's trying to get it in Canada. We all are trying to get it in Canada as being a Canadian sometimes because of duties and tariffs.
And just so bad. And same with international. You guys, I am working so hard. First of all, I've learned so much. It's very different being a formulator than owning a company and doing this yourself. You guys, the legal ramifications of all the paperwork of getting all the appropriate permits to import and export a food-based supplement, it's insane. So am I working at making these products internationally available? I am, but you don't understand the number of hoops and the time it takes. So first of all, you're working with federal regulators. Y'all know how that goes. It's just a slow, long process, but rest assured, I am trying my darndest. I do think it's going to take a year, but I am working on the ability to ship internationally. And you have to have it be legal. So I'm working on the legalities part of that. Yeah. But Rodney, one other thing I just wanted to say, part of the reason that I was so adamant about Prime enzymes meeting the needs of such a diverse group of traumatized dogs and cats.
I'm just flashing it for all the new people that are joining because I know people are running over and purchasing, and I got to show them the product. Like if you're just coming in now,
Yeah.
I'm just going to hold this
Yeah.
screen just because the little code is there, and you're going to be pissed that
Yes,
you
that's good.
pre-ordered without the
Missed
the
it. Yeah,
product.
that's right.
Just
You
for
guys,
Inside
Inside Scoopers,
Scoopers,
I'm
yeah.
giving you this gift. That's right. This is just for you. I just wanted to give you a thank you. I love you gift. And so you're able to order it first and get a discount because I do genuinely, you are my people. And so I just
Well, the room
wanted to
keeps
say
filling with
thank
new
you.
people coming out, new people coming in, and so I just anyways.
Now, I also want to mention I put lactase in there, and I can't tell you lactase. I put lactase in to break down lactose. People are going to say, why did you put lactase in a dog and cat digestive enzyme? You guys, dairy proteins are a crucial dietary component for a lot of high needs dogs. Who am I thinking? Kate Clayson. I'm thinking about you, Homer's groomer. I'm thinking about people that own Dalmatians, people who have liver shunt dogs, people who have purine, all my purine patients out there, all my urate bladder stones. Rodney, I can't tell you, dairy protein is life-saving. Ricotta cheese, cottage cheese, kefir yogurt, and fermented goat's milk those are foundational low purine foods that many of my high-risk purine urate pets live on. And if people say, well, I don't give dairy to my dog, no problem. Then your dog or cat doesn't need the lactase that is in there. No worries. But if you are relying on dairy protein as a foundational protein source for your beloved animal who has to eat dairy because they're purine sensitive, I had to include this because I wanted this enzyme to be appropriate for Dalmatians and liver shunt dogs. I wanted everyone to be able to say, my gosh, my dog needs an enzyme, but it's not hypoallergenic. My gosh, my dog needed an enzyme, but there's no lactase in there. So I just wanted to make sure that I was covering my bases for all of my high maintenance patients as well. So the lactase is in there for my high maintenance patients. Yeah. I also wanted to mention that beta glucanase is in there. And hopefully, Rodney, you're going to say, sounds like it breaks down beta glucans. And it does. And what I will tell you is you guys, we're all spending a ton of money on mushroom supplements. I don't know about you, but I'm well over $150 a month.
Section. It just came up in the comment section about mushrooms.
I am well over $150 a month on commercial mushroom supplements for not just me, but my dogs and cats, my mom, my dad, everyone I know, I have on mushroom supplements. One of the bioactive constituents in mushrooms, Rodney, is beta glucans. Like that's why we're taking them. But beta glucans is a fiber source that is not always broken down. So we're spending a lot of money on mushroom supplements and we're maybe not breaking down beta glucans because it's a tough cell wall. So beta glucanase is in there for anyone that is feeding mushrooms and are looking to derive higher beta glucan content from the mushrooms that they're taking. That beta glucanase breaks down the tough cell wall to be able to process beta glucans. And so if you're not giving mushrooms, no big thing. Your dog or cat's not going to use the beta glucanase. But if you're giving mushrooms, they're going to use it. And last but not least, Rodney, I have cellulase, hemicellulase, and xylanase. And those are 3 enzymes that break down plant fiber. And you guys, this is when, if we were still feeding our animals, if we were feeding our kitties moles, voles, mice, and if we were still feeding our dogs whole rabbit, we would not have to give cellulase, hemicellulase, and xylanase. You don't have to give those enzymes because they would be getting it in their prey's digestive tract. Just like they would be eating pancreas, this product is totally unnecessary if you're feeding whole prey because it's included in the prey's gastrointestinal tract. Prey species have a ton, their pancreas and their bodies produce a ton of cellulase, hemicellulase, and xylanase. Prey species are loaded with it. That's what breaks down the tough fibrous plant cell walls from prey. The problem is carnivores, predators, don't make these digestive enzymes. So what I'm doing, guys, is I'm simulating a prey's digestive tract with this particular complete enzyme formula. And the reason I'm doing that is that, Rodney, those low glycemic fibrous veggies, that's where antioxidants, polyphenols, and flavonoids are. And Rodney, without that, how are we fighting cancer in our dogs and cats? How are we delivering food-based antioxidants and polyphenols? How are we doing it? We're not. If we are denying our dogs and cats roughage, low glycemic plant-based roughage, then they are not getting food-based ways to control inflammation, build the microbiome, and fight cancer, because there ain't no antioxidants and flavonoids, polyphenols, and meats. There just aren't. So I have included the enzymes necessary to liberate those bioactive substances inside of your dog or cat's body by including those enzymes. So that's kind of a brief breakdown about why I did what I did.
Do you remember like what my first question to you when you told me you were making the digestive enzyme? I was like, please tell me you're not going to add this because it's going to destroy any possibility of a fecal microbiome transplant.
I don't remember because I'm in menopause.
So, Inside Scoopers. I remember very
tell
well.
me, what did I say?
So one of the biggest issues today for people that are doing fecal microbiome transplants is when you get a report back that says your dog has lost his ability to break down protein. And that is like the number one thing that happens. If your dog's been on metronidazole, we've showed in multiple studies. We did a Facebook Live on metronidazole in just 72 hours, how much it can decimate fusobacteria, the bacteria responsible for the digestion of protein. Or any antibiotic for that matter. Most dogs that I see, shout out to Tara Armstrong, another Inside Scooper, who she had to buy the solvent prescription digestive enzymes that were costing her
for $120,
$280 Canadian. She was paying like every 2 weeks, $280 Canadian, or maybe it was every 1 week. Regardless, she has a big dog. We did a microbiome test. There's nothing there. So the microbiome report will always come back and say, put a dog on a digestive enzyme if you don't have any protease, man, because like that's a really big problem. And so people will then do a fecal microbiome transplants to fix the microbiome. The downside, almost all digestive enzymes on the market put probiotics in it because a lot of the companies will either just say, hey, we'll just chuck probiotics in there. It's only going to help. So let's put probiotics in the digestive enzyme. That's a huge problem because microbiologists will tell you if you mix probiotic with an FMT, a fecal microbiome transplant, they compete with each other in the microbiome. They don't work.
And we talk about this all the time in Inside Scoop. We talk about if you're going to shell the money out for an FMT, stop the probiotic. Let the FMT do the work, right? Let them do the work. But a lot of dogs need enzymes while they're undergoing FMT therapy. Yeah.
So I said, if back then, because you're in menopause, hey, if you're going to create a digestive enzyme, please don't load it up with probiotics.
Course. Right. No.
Lactobacillus acidophilus, bifidobacterium. Like I'm telling you, people put like 15 strains in that bugger. And then all of a sudden it just obliterates the use of it.
Well, Rodney, those all-in-one products are really popular. And let me tell you guys, if you have a healthy dog, no problem. If you have a healthy gutted dog, use them. Totally. But if you don't have a healthy gutted dog, that's when adding those all-in-one products, that's when people say, I tried it and my animal got worse. And that is not the goal. When your animal already feels crappy, the goal is not to add fuel to the fire. When it comes to protein digestion in my product, I have pancreatin, pepsin, protease, bromelain, and papain. I have 5 different really important features that help break down they're going to say, why did you add so much protein support? Because the body breaks down protein in different ways. So I hit protein breakdown from 5 different angles. Bromelain modulates inflammatory signaling in the gut. Papain dismantles really dense, thick proteins that are necessary. Like if protein digestion is difficult for your animal, and some people will say that I put my animal on a meat-based diet and they got worse, you need stronger protein digestion. And so between pancreatin, pepsin, protease, bromelain, and papain, you've got this multimodal protein digestive effect going on. And it's really intended for animals that have food sensitivities or leaky gutted animals. Rodney, we talk about this a lot. My concern about animals that are in the process of developing microbiome imbalances, like let's just say you have a year-old dog and they've been on a couple runs of antibiotics and their poop's not as good as it used to be. You're starting to see 1 or 2 symptoms on that list of common GI problems showing that your animal's having digestive issues. When that hits, Rodney, how food and environmental allergies happen is proteins in the diet get down into the small intestine undigested. And that's a problem because if your tight junctions in your gut are not tight, if you have leaky gut, which is an increased GI permeability issue going on, and you do not have digestion up to speed, then those partially digested proteins move from the stomach down in the small intestine, down in the colon. And then what happens? The body absorbs partially broken down food particles and launches a massive internal reaction. That's how food sensitivities occur. So part of the reason I hit protein really hard is a lot of unhealthy gutted dogs, they're headed towards massive allergies. And so what can we do to help minimize that potential? We can assist them in breaking down their nutrients. Nice slide.
I've always got my dysbiosis slide ready to go. I think you can never get enough of this
Love it.
dysbiosis slide. Okay. Anyways,
Yeah.
So, gosh, we blew over by 2 minutes.
Okay, but we also have another study. The only thing I have to mention, one more thing, is some people will say, well, when do I not give enzymes? The one situation where I would not give enzymes, Rodney, is if you have a dog that has, or kitty, that has active bleeding. Like if you have an animal with GI ulcers or erosions, active opened wounds or sores in the GI tract, I wouldn't add enzymes. But besides that, I mean, that's the one cautionary I would say. Don't.
That's interesting. So maybe dogs on long-term NSAIDs that haven't gotten the microbiome checked out yet. Imagine the ulcers that are going on there.
Well, and so, I mean, if you'll know, because if you give an animal with an irritated, inflamed, a bloody GI tract, you give an enzyme, they'll throw up. They'll, nope, this is not. Yeah. I'm not keeping. So that's just one caveat.
You brought up Dr. Sharon Center. Shout out to Dr. Heather O'Leary, Dr. Lori Koger. She taught them both in the comment section. Say that's my teacher.
Oh,
I did meet her.
What an amazing
week,
woman,
guys.
Right?
Incredible woman. Starts off the phone call with, I'm trying to get the message out to everybody, but no one is helping. Or people are telling me that they'll help me do something about it, and no one is doing anything about it. I didn't even know what the heck was going on. I said to her, well, you're telling the right person if you want someone to do something about it.
It's true.
So, Dr. O'Leary, Dr. Koger, if you happen to be talking to Dr. Sharon, I think the thing too is, Karen, most scientists, like Dr. Anna Hjelm-Björkman, shout out to Dr. Anna if you're watching from Finland, she DM'd me this morning on Facebook. I sent her that message, I feel like in 1972.
3 months ago.
Maybe 37
She's a busy
years.
woman.
And she just answered it now. She's like, Rod, just get me on WhatsApp. I don't use WhatsApp, man. But all right, so they're so busy. So Inside Scoopers, Dr. Center, we should talk about our studies next week. We should talk about our studies when we do this again.
Yes.
About this copper issue. I got all of our papers when we were talking. These are all my questions for, by the way. That's why every time I ask a question and then I kind of delayed you, I didn't know if you knew I had notes. Did you know I had notes when I was looking
No, I
back?
did not know that you had notes.
I got so many damn notes I wrote here. So the one that I highlighted that I tried to bring up to her right there was the fact that copper in dog food has increased since the 1990s. Changes in copper supplements have made them more absorbable over time. And then I started to take even more, she got right down into numbers with me, Dr. Koger and Dr. Heather, pertaining to the levels of copper. And I tried to take notes, Karen, because it was like, man, she's getting into the fine minutia of things. But let me sum this down for you, Inside Scoopers. Whoever, in the most layman way possible, I'm sure if she was listening, she'd probably punch me, but in the most layman way possible, the way that nutrition was designed, and there was this thing called the NRC, the National Research Council, where they did horrific things to animals. That's another story for another time. But they got these baselines for nutrition. And the way that all pet food companies in the world are formulating, if I was to tell you, hey, I'm going to give you a little bit more of copper, I'm going to give you a little bit more of this vitamin, mineral, or whatever the case may be, it's a little bit more. Here you go. But that can be a problem because there's also some might have a maximum, but there's no maximum for copper. Tell me if I'm getting this right.
Pepco doesn't have a maximum.
So it's basically rotting out the liver. Now, I know rotting out is not the most scientific way to say it, but it's basically
being stored up.
But
it's just
which is damaging the liver over time. So then people, when they come in and they go and they get their dog's blood work and the ALT levels are up, you're saying to yourself, well, what the hell is causing it in my environment that's affecting my liver when the whole time it could have been your dog food? It probably is your dog food because this woman, this scientist, has contacted all pet food manufacturers from the biggest of big to say there's too much copper in your damn food, and you are going to you are going to shorten the lifespan of dogs if you don't fix this.
Yep.
So, well, who better than us to tell the world about it, right? But Dr. O'Leary, if you're listening, and Dr. Koger, I go all the way back to referencing Dr. Nahum Borgman, and it may take them a little longer to respond. I am ready with I know every Inside Scooper will stand behind us, and everybody like in the entire 2.0 pet parent, we are ready to put on like a global push. We'll call all of our manufacturers and we'll say, here is where the copper level should be. And if you don't meet that, I'm not going to feed my dog your food because here's the potential that it could hurt my dog's liver. So we will inspire the manufacturer to fix their copper levels from maybe the world's most renowned liver expert that there is, Dr. Centers.
Yep.
So the nonprofit that we have, Pause for Change, we will fund going out, because apparently she said that when you call the manufacturer, they won't give you the data.
They won't.
How
They
shitty
won't
is that?
give you the amount of
They
copper.
won't give you the amount of. I will make them world famous. If you call your manufacturer and they say it's proprietary information, we don't want to tell you, I'll make them world famous. So I'll go out, we'll get the bags. The Inside Scoopers will help us. We got people like a Leslie Cook and all these incredible retailers that can send these bags off to a lab. We'll test everybody's bag, especially the shitty people that don't want to reveal what they've got. Then we'll test your food.
Yep.
And then we'll release the data to show the levels of copper in the food. Deborah says, how much copper is too much? Deborah, like it's like in these milligram dosages. I wrote them down. I'm trying to find my friggin' notes. But
and Rodney, we need to do a whole separate episode.
Let's
The
do an
take-home
episode about
message
that.
is what Steve Brown said. You guys, this is what Steve Brown said 30 years ago, and he's been saying it ever since. If you flip over your bag of food, if you see liver in it, great. Liver is a food-based source of copper. The amount of liver added to a pet food should be based on the pet food testing the liver and finding out how much copper is in the liver, but at least it's food-based. What you never do is if you see liver on the label and you see a copper supplement, don't feed that food. That was one of the very first Inside Scoop Pet Food U episodes, maybe 6 years ago. Steve Brown said, just as a general rule of thumb, do not feed a copper supplement in a pet food that also has liver. It's just too much flipping copper. And that's a really good, like for just step number one basics, just don't feed supplemented copper. Now, in homemade recipes, do we use liver all the time to meet copper requirements? Yes. But what you don't do is meet copper requirements through food and then give a multivitamin with more copper. You don't do that. Copper supplementation, I think, should be regulated. I really do. I think it should be regulated. I can't read that, Rodney.
I scratched it on the top. I get so much friggin' paper here Inside Scoopers. Listen, I keep shouting out at Dr. Heather and Dr. Lori, and I still haven't even said what my point is. I told her, we'll go out, we'll test all the foods, we'll figure it out. I emailed her, but like a scientist, it takes her 9 years to respond. So maybe you all could help me, and all the veterinarians that are listening, if you could reach out to Dr. Sharon Center and say, hey, Rod sent you an email. He's ready to mount.
Well, I would not bump. I don't think harassment is the way forward, Rodney.
Like I could get these incredible vets I know would help. And then we could just have this global movement where we can make the like if this woman who also contacted the FDA is telling people this is shortening your animal's lifespan. We as pet parents, I mean, I know we'll go to the ends of the earth for our pets. If they can fix it, then let's inspire them to fix it. But if they don't want to fix it voluntarily, then we, the pet parents, will inspire them to fix it, because we can make a lot of noise and ruckus online.
And let me tell you, I think really just for transparency, here's my second take-home tip. Call or email your pet food company today and say how much copper, and not per kilogram of food, how much copper on a caloric basis, and that's the question, how much copper per 100 calories per kcal is in your food. And if they say that's proprietary information, do not feed that food.
I got 0.1 milligrams per kcal, but I don't.
No, Rodney, we're not giving.
No,
we are.
Let me just tell you. I'll just say this one last thing. But she said that some companies are coming in at 2 milligrams, like 5 times, up to 10 times more than that there should be. But we won't give any more information than that. Let me get my notes all together because I don't want people to also.
We just want to give correct information. Right. So I don't know if you even wrote down that number correctly. Is my concern.
Did not. I probably didn't, so don't quote me on it.
Right.
But I did correctly write that, yeah, people were maxed like up to 2 milligrams and higher, and that was causing a problem. But
Let me tell you, Steve Brown for the last 20 years has evaluated independent pet foods, some of them 600% higher than daily safe upper limits of copper. People feeding over and over and over. Some of the top selling, most popular foods.
Some prescription diets. Some prescription diets are over. So if she wants somebody to make noise, we'll make noise. So we just need to.
We also have one more study, Inside Scoopers, about mycotoxins. But maybe we do that next week.
All right, let's do it next.
Not next week, because you know who's next week?
Yeah. Oh. I do. Hold on. You gotta make me check my scheduling. You gotta. Oh, it's red light.
It is
red light week. See, I knew it without even having to check my schedule.
So next week, we will not be discussing the mycotoxin study. We have one more study for you, Inside Scoopers, but we are running late.
Rigel or Regal or Rigel. Hopefully, I'm Canadian, so we could probably just say it.
Either way.
We'll get it right.
Either way. But yes, all things red light.
Listen, congratulations for those that are tuning late. I flashed the screen 900 times. Congratulations on your brand new product. Congratulations on selling it on your probiotic. Inside Scoopers, if you're tuning in late, this is your code. Dr. Becker, happy dump your significant jerk day. Happy spunky old.
Happy was it Old Biddies Day? Happy Old Biddies Day.
Spunky old broads day. Change your password day.
Yeah.
It's so painful. You know how many notifications I get to change my password? I'm not gonna change my password. I'm not gonna.
Nope. Inside Scoopers. Everyone have a beautiful week. Walk your dog. Kiss your cat. Don't give your dogs copper supplements. Don't use a copper bowl for them. And we will get on that copper train of education to be able to put together a full extravaganza for you. So you have all the details, the correct details on how to help you calculate the amount of copper in your animal's food and what to do about it.
On the podcast.
We should.
Let's get her on the podcast.
We should. All right. Sounds good.
Happy Sunday, everybody.
We're so grateful you joined us live. Yes. See you next week, Inside Scoopers.
Next week, same time, same channel. So long, everybody. Yay!
Woohoo! Yeah.